Hi, my name is Gaby Vaughn, and I'm a third-year design student at Concordia. The question is, what do I do? What is my practice? For a long time, I'd seen the world through the limited lens of dichotomies. This or that, either or. Sort of like a complicated game of would you rather, but one that involved polarized and self-defining choices. As literary devices, dichotomies are meant to create conflict. And inside your mind, they do the same. Now obviously, these bilateral perspectives are long outdated, as we've all been reminded to break free from the mold and to be different time and time again. I agree that we are all entitled to define our own stories, but it's a lot harder than people make it out to be. Fitting in is no longer a question of life or death as it was in Neanderthal times, but my biological processes informed me otherwise, and I always deemed it essential to my survival. Growing up as a second-generation immigrant in Western culture, for example, I was not white like most of my peers, but I also didn't feel like I could fully assert my Vietnamese heritage either. When I was a science student, it didn't click for me, and when I switched to art, I expected everything to make sense, yet that didn't bring me the answers either. My inability to see fit in any of the reference points that were handed to me was very self-alienating, but it's what led me to my practice today. My goal as an artist is to provide a lens into the experiences that can be found on the continuum, in the in-betweens, the feelings and stories we might overlook as they're neither normative nor marginal enough to be deemed as important. I want to highlight the collectivity and experiences that are just implied and not necessarily displayed in polarized mainstream media. So visibility, vulnerability, and transparency are always at the core of my projects, as they're what allow me to make sense of these undefined feelings and convey them to a larger audience. Within this framework, my creative process has only drawn from personal experience. My recent projects have tackled the topic of cultural duality as a second-generation immigrant, which encompasses the themes of home, identity, and patterns that may result from epigenetics and transgenerational trauma. For a long time, I tried to choose between various mediums, but I realized that for me, art is just a tool to communicate through visual storytelling. So I'll use whichever medium I think would be most appropriate to convey the narrative at hand and make it most accessible. May that be photography, painting, or graphic design. In this class, I would really like to explore the topic of neurodiversity and ADHD in adults, specifically in women, because this would not only bring visibility to a discourse that's often overlooked in the medical field, but it would also help me come into acceptance with my own recent diagnosis. I believe that my ADHD is what allows me to absorb collective experiences and synthesize their ambiguities into visual representations. And although I still don't have all the answers and don't know exactly where I'm going, identifying these in-between chapters of life through art brings me peace in not having it all figured out, because it allows me to be connected to many people and communities that might feel the same.